Hey everyone, my name is Zane Anderson. I am a game design student here at Full Sail University. Uh, the project that I have in front of me is the tile game that I've been working on, more specifically for the mechanic of the Chameleon code. Now what the Chameleon code is it's a color coding scheme that changes the player and entities around it to match a color code and complete a task. Here I have the player and a tile that turns green, and when the player steps on the tile, the player turns green. Moving up, I needed a way to make sure that the color was actually working. So to add a challenge, I have sensors to check for the color code. So this here is a green color sensor, and as soon as I step on it, it turns me back into the basic color. And then I can move on to the next level. Here's where the interesting challenge comes in, is not just for the color coding, but I wanted to create an opportunity for the player to have a challenge. So I have a labyrinth here of problems that the challenge must face, or the player must face, and that's where like I can't go through these doors, and if I am not the correct color of the sensor, I get captured. So to demonstrate, this is the importance of color coding. So I can step onto this plate over here and it opens the door, but as soon as I step off, the player is not able to move through. Well, I need to move that block over there. And in order to do that, I need to be blue, and then the sensor will check that I'm blue and pass. And with this, I am able to move the block over into where it needs to go. And as you can see, the block, as soon as it touches the color changing tile, it also changes to the color. And now to indicate that the tile is activated for the door, I've made it so the cube also changes color, and it illuminates to show that it is an active object. Same thing for over here. This is not supposed to be a difficult challenge, but I wanted to showcase what I was able to do for my project. I do have more level designs coming because I like this aspect of the puzzle feature, but I would like to add more obstacles and more challenges. That is my project. To showcase what I've done for this mechanic, I wanted to break down what I did. And for it to work, I needed these tiles to I needed the tiles to project onto entities by detecting whether it was an interactive box or if it was the player. The purpose of the tile is so everything has an enumerator for the color status. So the box would be fed. This is just for the box, but the player is the same way. The tile has a color code, and the tile will submit that color code to change the color of the box or the player. And in doing so, it takes the color that it's changing to, and it sets that material for it, and it's assigning the color status to the box. I do feel like I could do this a bit easier with a switch on enumerator. However, this is the way I have it set currently, is just to set the material for the cube. And that's for the box. Here's to showcase the blue floor. Again, it's taking the it's setting the material for the plane so that it knows which material it is, and then also taking the entering entity. This is the more important part, because this determines whether it's a player or the box. And so if it's the player, I notice there's a problem with the entity player on spawn. If you do, whenever I had it look for the entity player to match if it was the entity player, because the player is an instance, it wouldn't ever match. So I kept running into errors and the player would never change colors. So to counteract that, I decided to compare it to the class. So if the class is a child of entity player, so it could be entity player 0, 1, 2, or 3, it wouldn't matter as long as it classifies as an entity player. It meets this condition. Otherwise, if it is meeting that condition, it's an entity player. If not, it casts to the entity interactable box. So far, I only have those two entities that are being checked for. At some point, I will probably have more obstacles and entities that check for these statuses, in which case I would need to add a new check for this. Similarly, so there's the change box color for the box, and then for the player it's the same thing. So it changes the player by taking the tile color and the color status and applying it to the player. That way the player is assigned the color code and it looks like the color that it's assigned. To go further into detail, if the player isn't the correct color, so say they're blue and they walk into a green sensor, that's when it spawns the prison capture animation, and that's where this comes in. And that's my way of testing that the color is working on the bad case. So if you fail to match the color code, that's a possibility is being caught. But more for ways to test, I also added in a tile floor key. What the tile floor key, this is way more complicated. It's still based off of the previous checks, but this time I checked for interactable boxes, and I went a bit more in depth because there's multiple boxes, so I needed it to check whatever box it's on. This is where I explain the switch on enumerator for color status, and what this does is this makes it so depending on what the key color is for that tile, it changes what it's looking for, as well as this lets me know is the light or is the box being used on that tile, and then this lets me know that the tile is being activated. In case you're not using a box to activate the tile, this allows the player to activate the tile too, depending on if the player is the same key color. This power check, all it does is it makes sure that the correct color is being sensed, and if it is and the player's on it, the tile is being powered. If not, the tile is not being powered. And then this checks for the door. So this is my key and lock system. So the door will only go if the tile is being powered, and if it's no longer being powered, it does not open, it closes. I ran into another issue with that, where um, the tile wouldn't close properly, and in order to fix that, what I did was I disabled the player to enable a full open and a full close. It only disables the player when the door is opening. When the door is closing, the player does not lose input in order to keep moving. Let's see. And then here's where I have an override. I have an override for if I want to, it's predetermined to set for normal for the color code. But if I want to override it and say I want it specific, this allows me to choose a color code specifically for that block, and then it designates here on what path to go based on that color code. And it does this at the start of every time the game loads. This way it makes it easier when editing levels where I could just plug in the tile key or a tile door, and it allows me to quickly update it. So here I have the key color for blue, meaning this should only activate.
Auto shutdown canceled. Powering on, mic on.
Oop, I lost my headset. Here we go. It should activate if it's the key color of blue. And then I have it set so it targets a specific door, which is this one. And if I wanted to, I could change it so it targets any of these doors. And the same thing over here is this calculates the current tile, and then also lets me know which tile specifically is interacting with this door. And the function works the same way for any of these colors. So if I wanted to, I could set this to, like this is set to green, but I could set it to red, in which case that would break this level as red is blocked by this door. But it would make it a neat way to make the levels more simpler to set up, thanks to having a nice quick, I can override the standard setup for it. And that is my Chameleon Code project so far. Let me know what you guys think.